Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs podcast. This is the UK's #1 QuickBooks podcast, but that's because we're the only QuickBooks podcast. So, we run by default and we record monthly as we explore tips, tricks, and shortcuts to streamline your QuickBooks experience. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Patrick, the QuickBooks chap on the YouTube, and the newly crowned Digital Disruptor of the Year. I'm pointing to it, but you actually can't see it there. But yeah, it's behind me. Yeah. In fact, I could have probably done that. That would have been easier, right? There we are. Award winning. And with me is a panel of experts talking about all things about QuickBooks. Do you want to introduce yourself? Simon, do you want to go first?
Yep, I'm Simon Woodhams, software advisory expert, as everything bings at my end and causes chaos. Morganson Smith. So we do everything, including QuickBooks, from your software side. And
recently got award nominated yourself, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we were nominated for the Chaser Accounts Receivable Accounting Firm of the Year. So yeah, all the awards going on.
We like it. We like it a lot. And the audit extraordinaire, Amy Hancock. Do you want to introduce yourself? Go for it.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Hancock. I have my own practice, Hancock and Hastings, based in Bedfordshire. I don't currently have an award. Happy to receive any that are coming my way.
You may not have an award, but you do have a top trump card. We went live at Accountex last week. Very popular indeed. Very popular indeed. So yeah, we just need to make sure you guys get the.
I need my shiny top trump card.
Yeah, we need to make sure we get them over to you. I actually saw Amy last week. This week it was actually, wasn't it? And forgot completely to be with me. So yeah, bad on me. We are live to the nation and we've got Cracker installed for you. So let's figure out how this is all works. Live to the world. This session is at 12 o'clock. We're still figuring out when the best time to do these sessions are. But we will keep an eye on socials for when the best time it is. So if you're listening back at a later date, why not think about joining us live? That way you can get involved with the show and ask us your questions in that chat box, just like Paul W is saying, afternoon, all been a long time since I've made a live session. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Paul. Furthermore, we're live on the podcast services around the globe, which goes live on the first Wednesday of each month. So that's when we drop it. So feel free to subscribe. Right, let's talk about some of the bits that we've got to talk about today. We're still working with this new format where we're going to have a little 30 seconds intro and then we're going to talk about it. We might as well go straight into the first one because our first one should be a pretty interesting one. So let's roll that intro, get straight into it, and we'll talk about exactly what is going on. So topic number one, we are going to be talking about the fact that QuickBooks Sole Trader, the brand new version of QuickBooks itself, has had some critical updates and an update to its price point as well. The update itself seems like it's going to be something that's going to be really useful. It's all about cash flow and it's going to be really useful for small clients. But what about the price point? Let's have a little talk about it and see what we think. Oh, for crying out loud. You know what? One day.
We'll get it right one day.
I don't understand. Right? If you're listening, Ecamm, ever, please just give us an opportunity just to make all this automate. Anyway, so what are the updates for everybody? First and foremost, the big update is the fact that Sole Trader now has a fancy new solution to it called Cashflow. Now, you may have heard of Cashflow before because it was in the original version of QuickBooks. So I suppose it's still there, isn't it? But it's being taken away from us. But now on the left-hand panel, we have cash flow there, and this is what we're looking. We'll look at it in a little bit more detail. For anyone who's listener only, we're just having a quick look at where it is on the left-hand panel, cash flow. My first point of this is when I've been spending more and more time with Sole Trader, my favorite bit about Sole Trader by any point whatsoever is just how easy it is to use for a client. Like literally within 3 minutes, I timed it. I put a stop clock on, set up a license, went all the way through. Within 3 minutes, I had connected my bank. It had posted all the transactions for me using AI, machine learning, whatever you want to call it. And it had generated me this cash flow forecasting just here. So in theory, we're not there yet because as we discussed in last week's episode or last month's episode, there's definitely some work that needs to be done on the algorithm and how it posts and everything else. But in theory, if they can get this right and they can get this automation all set up, being able to have a cash flow forecasting tool for one of your smaller clients within 5 minutes, say, has to be a good thing, right? Who wants to go first on the actual idea of having cash flow in this tool?
Go for it.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be amazing. I think actually a lot of my Sole Trader clients are still Excel or receipt based, so actually getting them onto this will be a challenge. But I think this is a selling point for them, especially if they all set up their own business bank account, which I'm still working on. Having this would be a great addition. Have you looked at it on a mobile device at all?
Oh, that is a very good point. While you're talking, I'm going to do exactly that.
Yeah, because I think for Sole Trader to be really useful is having everything on the mobile app. A lot of my clients will want to just use the mobile app rather than do nothing on the computer. They won't even want to log on. So everything needs to be mobile friendly on here. I mean, I could start banging on about CIS again, but I'll leave that for another day. Everyone's probably had enough of me. So yeah, if this shows on the mobile app, I think it did for essentials.
Yeah, and any of the QuickBooks Online ones definitely was there, wasn't it?
Yeah. So actually, interesting to know if it is on the mobile.
Simon, your thoughts?
I mean, we don't have that many sole trades, so it's not going to be. But I get the relevancy of it, and having the cash flow tool is a good sign. Just saying, it's going to be taken away from the other ones. But
it's going to be great for the tax bill.
Yes,
that's what it's going to be. The July and the January.
Well, technically, in that 5-minute setup, technically, if I'd have put in the full 12 months period in, I wouldn't just have a cash flow forecasting, but I'd have my estimate of my tax bill as well. Now, again, the preference here, or the bit to remember, is at the moment, if I go here and look at the transactions, these are not right. Like these are, it's put stuff in place. It's as accountants, we're sat there a bit scared of this, but actually for majority of clients, it's probably, once it's like at 90% accuracy, it'll probably be all they'll need, right? Because for them, they get a nice estimate, they can see where their cash flow is going. It's got to be good for them as a business, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is this also going to include pots? You know, some of the banks that have pots.
I would love that to happen, but well, I suppose the way around that is they now have the new connection that ignores pots, right? Which is actually a good thing for us. It makes it easier. One thing I would say though, if we're going to look at this product as it is, my only negative about this is from the QuickBooks Online point of view, as we've already mentioned, they're getting rid of cash flow. So like, it doesn't make too much sense why they're bringing it into the lowest product. But I think my only major criticism isn't there much more of a if you're going to put a priority list of updates that needed to Sole Trader, I'm not sure cash flow really hit that priority list. So that's my only criticism I've got of it, is that great to have it. And we always love new features. We always love new bits to play around with. But actually, there was more critical areas on this that should have been the priority to get fixed, right?
Yeah, it's a bonus rather than an essential part to what they're going to need. It's not going to be something that would make or break them using it.
Yeah, 100%. And if we just explore what we've got here, on the left-hand side, it's given us a cash flow balance. On the right-hand side, giving us a cash flow trend. If I scroll down here, it's kind of giving us where those forecasts are coming from. Again, it's not really picking up too much, really. Invoice here is because I've put an invoice in, so it's saying when it thinks it's going to get paid. Amazon payments coming in. It's not really, I suppose it's estimated it for me that that's going to continue. But it's a retail business, so you probably wouldn't really sit there and expect that, because it's not a subscription, right? Like,
yeah, I think it's going to need a lot of training. I think that was the flaw. That was the flaws in the original cash flow projection in standard QuickBooks, wasn't it?
Yeah,
quite a few flaws in it. I don't know many people that actually used it.
No, I know. And
that probably explains why they're removing it, but to bring it back into here, I said it's a bit odd.
Yeah, exactly right. And it does see, like, if I wanted to, I could probably round this up and I could put this to 100 and apply to all and save it. So it's given us a bit of flexibility there, although that didn't work. Oh, it did. Yeah, it did. So it's updated that. So you've got that sort of options there. You can see it. Go for it.
Which sole traders are going to go in and do that? Probably not. It's going to rely on the accountant to do that.
100%. And as accountants, do we even have access to cash flow? We don't know yet, because we still don't have access to the accountant's view, which is my biggest point of contention with this, because I think that accountant's view, we need it to be absolutely spot on, especially with them talking about the fact we can reconcile banks, which still scares me a little bit with the way that this is all built. Because you'll have to remind me if we spoke about it last week. Did we speak about the receipt capture last week? Did we bring that one in? I can't remember.
We talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, so this whole linked, unlinked, duplicate scenario here, is that just going to mess things up? Is that going to make that reconciliation absolutely impossible to do? That's what we need to see, right? Like, we need to have an opportunity to see that. And as an accountant, are we going to be able to see this cash? Are we going to be able to play around with these projections for them? I don't know. And I don't know if that's really what it's designed for. I'd imagine it's designed for the client, really, just to...
This is definitely much more focused on the end user.
Yeah. 100%.
Rather than us.
And then there's this explore scenarios option. So you get the chance to make a large purchase or hire a contract, pay yourself. And if you put it in there, you can say, I don't know, I've got a £10,000 purchase to make. Press next. Interestingly, it doesn't say what date that's going to be. But we can move these months along. And am I missing something here? This doesn't seem to.
It's because you got no
money.
money.
It feels like a little bit too. They're trying to pull in what other softwares are doing, but putting it into sole trader probably isn't the right area to do this.
I like the idea of it. It's because you haven't got enough invoices in there, I think.
Yeah.
But it's kind of running before it can walk.
Yeah. And the fact this scenario doesn't save or doesn't go onto that other page.
So if you said done.
That's gone. I've got to start again now.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's pointless.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's half of what it needs.
Yeah, you kind of want to reload up that scenario. Oh, are we tracking against where? So say for instance you did put that in as, I want to buy that 10,000 in December, and then you've raised, you don't want to then redo the scenario again.
Exactly.
But is a sole trader actually going to use that? The majority of my sole traders would never even dream of doing that. It's the bigger clients that would want to look at the scenario setting.
My dad would never do that. He's still a trader. He would never go in and put it in here. He'll look what's in his bank account and go, cool, I've got this work. I've got that money. I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And just so you know, Amy, and it's not in the app.
Damn.
So
maybe it's coming.
It may be, yeah. We got transactions, receipts, snap, invoice estimates, customers' mileage, profit and loss, send feedback, and help. So yeah, I think it definitely needs to be on the app to
send feedback.
Yeah. I mean, it's here. when they released it for the main product, it was released at a time when it was really important because it was, you know, the story was that they kind of rushed it out a little bit because it was for COVID.
Yeah.
And actually that was a really impactful for a lot of clients. All we were doing with clients were talking about the doom and the gloom, right? At least this cash flow in the old one gave us something to be positive about. You know, when your loan comes in, it's going to look better like this, and this is how it's going to affect you. And we could do all those sort of scenarios. It wasn't perfect. There was definitely a lot of flaws, and we could definitely go to a third-party solution and get a much better cash flow and forecast. But having those opportunities to talk through the doom and gloom with clients was actually really impactful. I'm just not sure that this bit, I don't know. I don't know. I like the inclusion as an idea. I'm just not 100% sure what we're gaining from it. And again, my frustration is this just development time that's been put into here when we all know there's real critical elements that we need addressing first.
Definitely. Yeah. It's here. We'll look at it. Might not dabble about in it too much, but yeah.
It's progress. It's progress. The other bit that news for sole trader.
So
no, sole trader doesn't touch VAT, does it? Which is what the old one didn't do either, which was always a big miss, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where like a lot of our sole traders will be VAT registered. So we're going to be on standard QuickBooks anyway. So
yeah. So you won't have any cash flow at this point in time.
Exactly. But then, you know, we'd use a separate tool for that anyway.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about the price difference. Oh, the price. You told me the right phrase, Amy. I forgot what it was off air.
Correction. The price correction.
That's right. Yeah, it was. So we were telling everyone it was £10, weren't we? But what can you remember, Amy, what the actual price is?
The first email that went round that said it was £10 inclusive of VAT, which at that point I was a bit like, I felt like that was a little bit steep. And then it's £10 plus VAT now.
Yeah.
So £12. I just felt it was a bit steep because as Simon said, you know, the ones that are VAT registered are going to be on the essentials up. I think even Simple Start, sorry. You're looking at the real smaller ones on this. They go, I'm thinking of my clients that are still using Excel or not even using anything. I'm trying. They're not going to be desperate to get on this necessarily. But yeah, it was interesting that it came out and then it was like, no, this is wrong. Like, okay, fine. We'll have a look at that again and see what the best solution is for everyone.
So it looks like they've just copied the self-employed price, right? Which is £10 plus VAT as well. So, which I get. I mean, it's supposed to be like for like, right? But I think this particular solution, we should really be looking at it at a more discounted rate for a moment. For the clients, it's looking at and everything else. The rest of the price I have no issues with, you know, even advance at 90 quid. No. You know, there's a reason for it. Then people can get benefits for it. Fine. But I just think this lower end of the market, we just need that really attractive price to encourage people just to use it, right? Like if we can make this the default for clients going forward, it's actually going to make our job a lot easier. It's going to make their life easier. Yeah. Let's hope before it fully launches, there's a bit of a review against that one.
Yeah, £7.50. Like just a little bit less.
Yeah.
Would make, because then like Simple Start is £15.
Oh, is it 15 at the moment? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's always the deals, isn't there, for a year? I think
at the moment it's an absolute bargain. So you know, the jump up from self-employed to Simple Start, you get there's quite a bit more there, isn't there? But
interesting to see that the beta's gone.
Yes.
For sole trader. Is that good or bad? Do we want more or less people on this beta?
How many people are on it? That's the question.
Yes.
They must have reached whatever quota they were looking for, right? Like they must have got to that number. Okay, interesting. So yeah, that's our update on QuickBooks Sole Trader. Oh, there was one small little update as well. If I go to transactions area, go to the top here, you'll see that they're starting to bring in some kind of AI element to it for us. So what they're doing here is trying to tell you that spending was higher than usual in June 24 and spending was higher than usual in July 24. At the moment, completely honest with you, these make no sense whatsoever. Basically,
compared to what?
Yeah, exactly. So ignore the actual what it's telling us at this point in time, but the idea of giving those prompts, is that better or worse than what we had in self-employed, where we had that nice little graph that visually we could see that we're missing these sections? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I prefer the graph, really, but it's a work in progress from the looks of it. So might have a little graph and some narrative.
Yeah, 100%. Paul makes a good point. He says we need more bells and whistles to upsell this over Excel. So that's what we're fighting against, right? Like, but then Excel can't do MTD easily. So I suppose
that's going to be the point, isn't it? 2020.
Yeah. Paul says I'd like to see some divide for cost of sales and expenses. That's talking about the cash flow forecasting tool that's in there. And Dave says, good afternoon, Dave. I do have a question come in from Plaster Mouldering. The plaster one, go for it.
Yeah. You could use something like Dex Commerce that will split it out, connect a route to that, and then sync that with QuickBooks. And then, you can then map your fees and anything else to wherever you want it to go.
Yeah, and WooCommerce is also part of Intuit's little Intuit connector as well. So when they bought Sasan, and they had it from there, so you can go from there. I've done a video on my channel about eBay connector. Works exactly the same. And I'm sure you'll do exactly the same, Simon. Biggest thing is always make a control account though. Like, don't just get to go into the bank. You're asking for a bad time, aren't you, if you do it that way?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right, our next topic then. Are you ready, Simon, to for me to mess up and for you to
Is this the point where you just go Alt F4 and we all disappear and eventually come back?
Pretty much. All right, let's jump to the next topic.
Oh, that's a new view. So in the week news this week, back end of last week, QuickBooks announced a new enterprise suite that's going to be sitting above QuickBooks Advanced. So I thought we'd just dive into the, what is in addition to what you're getting. This is in the US only at the moment, but I'm sure it will come to the UK. I thought we'd just have a quick chat about what we want to see on it when it comes to the UK. So yeah, we'll go from there.
Oh, for flip's sake. Right. You did so well there, Simon. And clip that one. So
I can I clear up some of the news first? Because it's very confusing. Yes, so there was two announcements, and they both had enterprise in the name this week from Intuit. There was one on the desktop side. So they're finally, by the sounds of things, going to kill off QuickBooks Desktop in the US, from what I read, which they've done. They did here 2 years ago, or they gave them, a year ago.
It was,
So there was that bit, and then the only available desktop solution is QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop.
Confusing name.
At the same time, they've then launched this Intuit Enterprise Suite, which is cloud-based, which is going to be up. They're sort of pitching it in that mid-market, mid-ERP, up against the likes of Accounts IQ, iPlicit. Maybe touching into it's not going to go as far as a NetSuite. Maybe touching into Intax sort of area. But based on what I've seen at the moment, it's definitely that Accounts IQ-ish sort of level from the features that they've got in there. And it looks like a similar sort of price point, to be honest. They said between $7,000 and $12,000 a year, which is about right for a product in that market.
Is that kind of user based, or how would you imagine that's going to be?
I imagine it's going to be number of entities, number of users. That's how it tends to work in that that space. Like
And then maybe an add-on for each additional entity and each additional user.
Yeah, some do. Some charge just per user and have like Business Central, for instance, charges per user, and you have as many entities as you want. But there's a lot more customization and stuff like that around it. So we can dive into some of the new things that they're going to have. Some things that we've talked about advanced should be in advanced, but they're going in here.
Yeah.
The big one is automated intercompany. So
bring up the screen for you.
Bring up the screen for me.
I'll
let you drive. So the big one is intercompany accounting. So we know how much of a pain it is to do a what's the word? Not a transaction was the word I was after. In one entity, then you have to go out and then you have to log back in and do the transaction on the other side. This is going to eliminate that. You just do it once and it will post it across both entities and also do the elimination at the same time for your reporting, which is perfect. That's what you want, right?
Yeah. And also on that, I just love the fact that we're used to it as accountants, right? Because this is the QBOA view basically, isn't it? But just for clients to be able to jump in and out of all the different entities, you think of like franchises and people like that, this could be huge, right? Like this is a really slick way of doing it.
One of the, when we do that mid-market project, it's one of the biggest things we come across is I don't want to have, even like when you had Sage Desktop, you still had to log out and log into the other one, right?
Yeah.
Being able to do any transaction between different entities. I know on the screen there, you can just see it just as intercompany journal entry.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to find out what transaction types can we do between different entities? Can we do a purchase invoice that will create a sales invoice in the other entity or vice versa? And stuff like that. So that'd be really interesting. And then, like I said, the intercompany journals would make standard. But what if you've got an invoice that's you want to split across 5 entities? Can you do multi-entity purchase invoices and stuff like that? So it'd be interesting to see what type of transactions we get with that.
And do you reckon this org chart is a company-wide org chart, or
or people? I imagine, because
good point, because they already have
one of the things it's not on their home screen, but their big thing was we're going to have more user rights, because obviously you might have your group of entities, but you might have one finance team that does this one and this finance team does this one. So you don't want them seeing the other person's entities, and then you might have your group FD who just has an overview of everything. So they've got with this, they have to nail the user roles. Yeah. And limit, not just by what they can do, but what entities they can see.
Good point. Which I suppose if they follow the QBOA model, I know it's not working at the moment. That's unfortunate.
It's fixed now, but
it's fixed now, right? It's been problematic, let's say that. But that's what we need, right? We need that element, but it's not just tick to see them. They need to be able to see different bits for each one. I assume you're gonna have to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. Like, obviously, they've shown the role there that says, custom role, expense manager, sales manager. At this level, it has to be granular user rights. Like, Aaron, you're a user. You're only allowed to raise sales invoices or create a draft sales invoice. That's all you can do. Not have access to the whole sales list. And it'd be interesting to see how else is it one chart of accounts? Is it 5 chart of accounts?
Interesting.
Is it one customer list? It's all that stuff they have to consider on how this works.
And surely it's not even, it's got to be as close as much as what customers and what bank accounts you can see as well, right? Like you're talking proper granular, aren't you?
Yep. It's got to be down to every nth if you're going into that market, because that's what everyone else in that market is doing.
Makes sense. Do you want to talk about the multi-dimensional reporting?
So that's obviously another thing that's key across this space, being not just having one location, one class dimension, which you've then got classes but then having custom ones as well. Up to 20, I think that's a good point. That's bang in line with other in that market. And being able to do your reporting, like that's the biggest thing. Always start with what reports you want, work backwards to what software fits that at the end of the day. So having up to 20 that you can then search by, build your custom reports. It'd be interesting if you can then put rules around some of those dimensions, like see where they appear. Like, for instance, like what you got there, like investor, for instance.
Yeah.
I only want that to appear on my sales invoice. I don't want it to appear on my purchase invoices, and start doing stuff like that. I think that is key. And can they be linked to chart of accounts? So like for instance, your sales code only shows the investor, for instance, and then purchases might show the portfolio, and start playing around in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact the new classes area and location, you do get that granular thing. So hopefully they can just copy and paste that. And what I do like to see as well is finally the new reporting area is getting that power use mode. Like we've not really seen it properly, have we? That like they've promised us that moving to this new reporting platform is going to give us all these fancier things. And there's a few kind of extra bits in the advanced area, but I feel like this is really pushing it to what the new, like this is showing the breadth of what the new reporting package can do, right?
Yeah. And the bit around, obviously they've got all that into reports, and obviously the next bit's insights and intelligence and all that, the AI that we touched on a minute ago. But what other reports are there going to be? I want to give you some nice dashboards, which when they launched QuickBooks Advanced, when was that? 5 years ago we started talking about it, maybe, and it had Fathom inbuilt within it, didn't it? With the nice
in the US, definitely. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I'd be expecting. So not Fathom as such, but something of that. Here's some nice dashboards that are customized to that user's login, for instance, and stuff like that. I'd expect they start seeing things like that.
Yep. And then finally, financial planning and analysis. Is cash flow coming back?
Cash flow is coming back, but they've taken it out of standard and put it into enterprise. But you can't really. I would say that the information is very light on the ground of what we're getting. Like that screenshot there could be any QuickBooks license at the moment.
100%. Yeah. Other than it says multi-entity there, that's the only difference.
Other than it says multi-entity there, and you've got everything else. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Like if you just looked at that screenshot, you could just be looking at QuickBooks Advanced.
Yeah.
There's nothing else in there. So it'd be interesting to see when it comes to the UK, what they're going to do for the UK. I think there's a lot more they need to do in that space if that's the area they need to go into. Like if you're comparing it against the likes of accounts like UI Implicit, Business Central, there's a lot more accounting function. Like I know we've got like revenue recognition, but what about prepayments? And all that stuff needs to be in there.
Yeah.
Nothing about payments in here either still. Yeah, so that's a big thing.
And don't they need it to be more stable as well if they're going into that one? Like we can almost forgive for some of our clients how it is at the moment. We get frustrated when it's a little bit down or a little bit slow.
I think that's one thing. Like obviously when they had all the Microsoft problems, over the last when Cloudflare had a problem, a lot of people who were on Azure platforms were like, "Oh, it's really slow." That's something that sadly, if everything's going to be on cloud, you kind of have to expect a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was on a desktop in the corner of your room, then didn't matter if the internet went down. That's something sadly the 21st century can't get around. If someone puts something in the wrong socket at Cloudflare or Amazon or whatever, it can wipe out the internet, sadly.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But it'd be interesting to see what else gets changed. I think it needs a lot more stuff in there, but as I said, like the information is quite light at the moment, and was a bit confusing with 2 announcements in the same week. Yeah,
definitely. Amy, what are your thoughts on it? Are you're excited to see them kind of going above advanced? I'm not sure they finished advanced yet, but yeah.
No, I feel like some of these, it would be great to have some of these things, especially the multi-entity management in advanced. From an audit perspective, flicking between checking into companies, having that would be great. I mean, I don't tend to work with clients that would require this, but I can certainly see some of the aspects of it that I'd love to see in the UK versions. We'll just have to wait and see what happens when it comes to the UK.
Yeah, multi-entity reporting and things like that. Like these have just one, like one set of T-roll balance sheets to every entity across the top and down, stuff. So you can easily pick, and that's what you get in other solutions. If that's what the market they're after, then that's what they need to have for it.
Yeah, that would be a dream to have that. So
the likelihood of
auditing a group. Yeah.
but the likelihood of that coming to advanced is probably pretty slim, I'd say. What would
Well,
you
that's
think?
the thing. We always talked about advanced having that multi-entity thing, and their way around it, saying, well, you've got the Excel tool to then
Yeah.
pull data from different entities and do it that way. This is that next step on, but it's not enough of a next step to generate the jump. There's not. If you are using advanced in the US at the moment, what is the pricing in the US?
245 for advanced. So,
and then you're looking at 7. It's not that far off. That's the thing. Because 7,000. If they say in the bottom one, $7,000 a year, that's $583. There's not a big enough jump.
Yeah.
In features, but to justify that at the moment, I don't think.
And especially that they are sunsetting desktop fully, right? No, because we still don't have feature parity. And advanced was always supposed to be our product that we could push people who've been on desktop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've loved the desktop there. You know, you cut them in their QuickBooks desktop through and through, like those super users, those businesses who really relied on it. In the UK, it was just the rug was pulled from their feet, right? And then one day they were able to use it, next day they weren't, sort of idea, and they had this whole mess that came through. We're still not there with feature parity yet. We're still missing those key features that desktop users loved having, and they don't have access in QuickBooks at this point in time. So if they're going to remove desktop from the US, surely the only way they can do that is by making sure that feature parity is there. And I would have thought, yes, some of it will go into Enterprise Suite, but most of it surely has got to go into Advanced. Is that all right?
Yeah, especially if they're keeping QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop as well.
How long? If we don't know, but how long do you reckon it's going to be there for? It can't be there forever, right? It's got to be a.
You don't know, because it still had that granular bit of it. But then, I have a version of Enterprise, and then you click on the help screens in that version. It takes you to the QuickBooks Online help anyway.
Okay.
It's very helpful. But that's, I think this in the US, desktop still reigns supreme for whatever reason. There's a lot more QuickBooks Desktop in the US, in the States, than there is anywhere else. And they're I don't know why, they're just very against moving, to be fair. But that's probably just because of the parity in features.
Some of them just literally can't move, right? As much as they'd love to, they see all the features, but having the idea of even the stock management or having multiple different.
So I didn't see anything in there around. There's not much about advanced stock, which is what.
Which, especially when they're trying to aim this, imagery-wise, that's all we've got to base it on. Here's a construction.
When you go into industry customization, when you
Yeah.
go into the customization, it's very much at the top. Your industry customization, across the top. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's very much focused on construction. Like all the things to do with construction. It mentions not for profit, but there's certain things you need to do for not. If it's coming to you, there's certain things, the way things work for not for profits, that you need to get right. But everything here is all around job costing and very construction. As you said, all the imagery is construction.
Yeah. And so stock has to be there, buildable materials, all of those sort of things, right? That's got to be available, hasn't it, for this to be viable for them?
Correct.
For those sort of entities to really think about moving on, especially because
I get the idea of it, that you then spend, you start your business on QuickBooks Simple Start, you upgrade it to, I totally get that. It makes perfect sense that you can stay on, and as long as and it's built on the same platform by the looks of things, it's not a separate platform, so you can't migrate from one to the other.
Yeah.
Or but there needs to be more in it.
100%. We'll see, because just getting those, just giving an opportunity to get your clients away from desktop, is really important to us as accountants, right? But we need to have that option to do it. So we'll see. Any more from you, Amy, on this one, on the enterprise sort of thing, before we move on?
No, it's a bit out of my client remit, and I think even on the audit side, we just have to see how it actually works when it reaches here. See if it's going to be any more beneficial than advanced.
Yeah. And I know the US pricing is way different to the UK pricing, but what would you feel like this would come in at, Simon? Like if there was a...
Well, if it was just as it was at the moment, or would I be very sad? Not $7,000 a year.
I mean, we don't pay anywhere near 235, right? So
advanced is £90, 98.
90. Yeah.
I think it's changed. Is that 98? Yeah, I think it's 98. Yeah, £98 a month for RRP now.
Okay, so that's gone up actually then, okay.
Yeah. So, you're paying, what's that a year? Just under £1,800 a year for advance. As it is at the moment, you're looking at maximum $5,000.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough there to make you want to move.
And its competitors are charging.
That's not enough.
And the competitors are charging substantially more than that, right? Like the world they're going against is 20-40K a year sort of idea.
Depends. It depends. Again, that's the thing, is how are they pricing it? Are they going to do it based on number of entities, number of users? Are there different types of users? That's what you also tend to get in when you move into that space. You have like four users that have access to everything, and then a bit like Xero do with their like expense users. You have like light users that can only do certain things and things like that. There's nothing about how that's going to work. Accounts IQ is from £450 a month. Then you're into that sort of level, aren't you?
Yeah. And that's
around that £5,000. That's for their like their middle sort of product that has intercompany and the stuff you'd expect. So that's kind of where it's going up against.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, you've got to step up then to the iPlicits and business, NetSuites and Intact of this world that you would be like, your 15, 20, 25 upwards.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's where do they see it fitting? What is its competitor? Is it Accounts IQ, or are they after iPlicit and Intact? And because Intact in the States is massive. Yeah. Because
that's why Sage bought them, right? Like that's why it was
exactly. Sage bought them. They're obviously coming. There's more traction gaining in the UK on that front, but there is that massive jump from we're on QuickBooks to we've outgrown QuickBooks. What do we go to?
And that's where this should fit, right? Like that's what this should be going.
Are they going before you get to an Intact and obviously a NetSuite, or are they trying to go right up against them? Yeah. Which at the moment they can't.
Interesting. I suppose the only thing they've got extra though is MailChimp, and we've yet to see that integration in the UK properly. But potentially for certain sectors, for certain industries, that could be huge, right? Like you could be bringing a proper CRM tool into your accounting platform, right? I'd imagine a business getting to this scale would already have a CRM tool, though. I think that's one of the things, isn't it? So
that's the thing. Like most of the projects we do, most people they'll come to us because they're only looking to change their accounting. The issue is the accounting platform, not the CRM. Or they want to integrate their CRM with something.
Yeah.
So yes, it's nice having it. I noticed on the original, they made an edit to the original announcement as well, because originally it said Credit Karma as well.
Oh, so originally they were going to kind of bundle that in. Okay.
And then there's an edit on it that says, we put this in, but we've taken that out. Which then, that is a powerful thing, because then you could just do credit checking on all of your customers before they come. You've then got, that would be, you expect sort of things like that.
You could offer finance on, solutions and stuff like that directly in product. All that sort of stuff could come into play, right?
Exactly. They've got the data.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe for them, it is more that suite of services that they're going for as a...
I think that's why they call it Enterprise Suite. I think it's just bundling lots of things together.
Yeah.
But
the Intuit brand. Maybe they need to go out there and buy some other solutions to make this more viable. Maybe. I think
it's definitely worth watching. I'm going to say. And if it comes to the UK, what they are going to do and who they're going up against is going to be interesting.
It is interesting because even like for Bofix, we have multi-entity problems. So it shouts to us as a solution. I'm just not sure the price point would really justify at this point, but we'll see. We'll see what it comes out. We'll see what it is. Maybe as an accountant, we get it for free. Probably too much for that, isn't it? Like, it was bad enough as getting the advance for free.
It'd be interesting because then it's solve you having, if you've got those third-party apps that are doing the multi-entity stuff.
Yeah,
removing that app.
Exactly. Yeah. And if that AI stuff and you get the MailChimp as well, all that sort of stuff comes in, potentially it starts adding up as a good value proposition.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the next one. Unless anyone's got anything else they want to talk about the Enterprise Suite. Awesome. Let's move on to our next topic. We all like being heard, right? So let's put a little story out there. What was it? 2 months ago, we talked about that in the US, the recurring transaction page has finally made it into QuickBooks Online under each individual customer, and it seems like it'll be a bit of a game changer. And we said in the UK how amazing that'll be. Well, don't worry. There's been an update to recurring transactions, and we're going to talk about it. Am I going to be really excited, or am I going to be really angry? Yeah, we're about to find out. So before we go any further, do you think I'm happy or angry with this update?
I think you're happy.
I think
You
you're
think
happy.
I'm happy? Oh, I am.
There's also a thumbs up behind you, so that kind of like
outdone by my own marketing there. I'm happy we've had an update. But my issue is, right, if we're going to get updates, and maybe I'm overthinking this, but for me, every time we have an update to any part of QuickBooks, my initial reaction is thankful that we've had that update, because that means that someone's put resources into updating X, Y, Z, whatever it's going to be. But I also, if that update's not what we were expecting, then there's that frustration, because the realization is that probably we're never going to get that, or at least it's going to be a very long time until that place is going to get the update again, right? So what has been updated? Well, what we were hoping to see, and if can you guys remember us talking about the little recurring template screen area? Do you remember us talking about that? So if I kind of bring it up in the customers, the idea would have been that if I went to customers here, I was going to have we've got statements, project, customer details. And in America at the moment, there's a recurring templates button there. Brilliant, right? You click that button, you go straight to the recurring templates. If anything, like our practice, for example, every client is running on recurring. Like, that's how we invoice. It's how money gets collected, etc., goes with it. They always left us this new recurring templates button here, but unfortunately, it's a bit of I don't know why it's even there, because you click that button, it takes you to this page. Now, what they have done is they've made an update to this page. Really nice update, because now we have customer and supplier here. It's a little bit different template. The filter by name, which goes to look at customers and also the template name. We can filter to, unfortunately not to customer, but we can filter to transaction type, and there's more kind of transaction types here. So they've updated our recurring templates to at least give us the option to search it, but they haven't implemented exactly the same as the US. Now, when we have updates in the US and we don't get those updates in the UK for a long time, most of the time we can kind of give them a bit of a pass, right? Because most of the time it's to do with VAT or some localization issue that's causing them problems to be able to get it updated. With this one, they've obviously gone to they've gone out their way to update this list, but they just haven't gone and just taken the US. They've almost made their own update for the UK.
But that's because they've got different teams, haven't they, now?
But they were supposed to be having this new
Yeah.
Like it was, there was a new initiative, right? That it was a global product and we'll be updating.
Yeah, they had local teams to do local things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the local team's gone and done their own thing on this front.
Yeah, that's it. So what was there one thing, right? Am I overreacting here? Is this I mean, I'm thankful you can now search by customer, because that was a huge problem. Before you could only search by template name, so you could have a recurring transaction for a customer, forget the template name, and have to go through 1,000 transactions to find it in some cases, right? Like, it was as absurd as that. So the fact that we can now filter by customers, and we get a little bit more information. We like that.
I like it, but it should be under the customer.
We got it in the US like that, right?
So close, but yet so far.
But again, they've put the resource into
doing
it, and if they just talk to any one of us or watch this podcast, whatever they need to do, we could have had I imagine we could have had a better solution out of this. So what's your thoughts on it, Amy?
I mean, I personally don't use it that much, but where I have done, it has been frustrating to search for things. It doesn't feel like it's enough. It's not going to change. What they've done is not going to massively change my life. I do feel that actually, you're right. If it was under the headings, it'd be a lot easier for everyone, all my clients that are using recurring, just to find things, just there. Just there.
Easy. And again, I could jump into my US client and I could show you it is just there. Recurring.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do it. It seems crazy. They've got something there and it would be easy to put in, right? Unless I'm not a developer. I'm assuming it would be easy to put it in.
But on the scale of it feels simpler than a lot of the other stuff we're asking for, right? Yeah. Like that e-commerce platform and all that sort of stuff that's in the US. Yeah. I get why that's not coming anytime soon. That seems like a big job.
Yeah.
Is this a big job?
Yeah, to me, it's not a significant change in, not just because I don't use it, but as much, but it just doesn't feel, looks different to me.
Out as well. Like, then you can have recurring on your customers, because you go to recurring and you've got everything there, right?
Yeah. Everything.
I mean, you can filter it, but then you can separate out recurring your customers, recurring suppliers, and then recurring templates probably should just be your journals, let's be honest.
100%. 100%. I mean, if they're going to go this far as creating this new area and this new filter, and because this has changed, right? I'm not going crazy. No, definitely the customer, and the fact it says TNX, because that's not normally a UK standard, right? They've obviously
where they found that from.
That's transaction.
I did have to think
right?
what that was for a minute.
They've kind of, I think that's supposed to be an internal one that they've just not. They've not put an external field onto it, right? But if they're going to go this far, then give us a filter for customer. Just take it that one step further.
The fact you've got a filter for location is bizarre.
Yeah. So I can look at my recurring transactions for filters, and maybe we should, going forward, we need to put a location to our customers so we can use this screen. But
then you're limited by the number of locations you can have.
Exactly. So, we were so close.
Yeah, 2 steps forwards, 1 step back.
Because if they had the filter by customer here, then potentially, I mean, I don't want this as the solution. I'd prefer to have its own page, but as a stopgap, we could have had it that this button here that we have for our customers now to go to recurring templates could have automatically applied the filter for that customer, right? And it's not perfect, but that would have been a way around it, right? And we could click that one, we go into that page, and we're only presented with the recurring transactions for that one. Fine. Yeah.
That's almost how that button, I wonder if they think that button is doing that.
I brought this up day one. So I was really, that was one of those ones I got really excited by when I saw that button there, because it's one of the pain points of our practice that, we've got having to change someone's invoice is so ridiculously complicated at the moment, and making sure they're on the right go cardless because of the way go cardless integrates. And when you get to so many, it just breaks on you, and there's all these issues that come with it. So it's always been a pain point for us of, getting invoices out and getting paid for it, which, as you know, as an accounting firm seems ludicrous and seems like, you know, we should be on top of that sort of stuff, right? But using the tools we've got, they're the limitations we have. So when I first saw this view recurring templates, I got really excited, and then basically found out that we're going here. Doesn't make sense. I mean, why is it under the transaction page anyway? I don't know.
I've got lots of things like why lots of things are on the transaction page, but that's for my rant of we're going to do a QuickBooks Labs rant section. It's just me ranting about things.
Can't wait for that one. Cannot wait.
Might be a 4-hour special.
But yeah, hey, look, it's progress, but we all know, right? Doesn't this mean that now this is at the bottom of the development cycle now?
Yeah.
And we're going to have to wait.
So what are they working on? That's what we need to know.
Yeah. Because how do we bump this back up again? Because yeah, you've had a go at it. Great. Thank you. Really appreciate that. But it's not what we wanted, not what we were asking for. So I mean,
makes a point, you know, the link, you know, showing, you know, the direct debit links with, you know, go cards and stuff on the customer pages and stuff as well.
Yeah. It's very broken at this point in time, unfortunately. Because if I just change this to, I don't know, let's just call it template name. So now it doesn't have the word customer in theory. Oh no.
No.
Oh no. It definitely works. I'm sure it works on. Oh no.
Yeah,
so
kind of. So your search isn't actually searching, it's only searching on the template name.
So we have no way of bringing up a customer in this scenario. So if I had 1,000 transactions there, I still can't bring my template up.
Unless you know exactly what the name of it is.
At least we can put them in order, scroll through. Brilliant.
maybe not the 2-step forward, 1 step. Maybe
it's half a step forward.
Yeah, backwards.
Oh dear.
Okay. Well, there we are. I've just broke my own news section. So we've had an update. It made it worse. We're supposed to give scores, aren't we? We forgot to give scores. So let's go back to the first one. So we had an update on sole trader update. What are we saying? Yay or nay to that one?
Yeah, I'd say yay. I think it's not necessarily needed, but it's a nice bonus.
Simon?
Yeah, agreed.
I'm going to say a nay because I would have really have hoped that they would have put their time and effort into other bits that need to be fixed. The enterprise one, yeah or nay? Simon first on that one.
Out of 10, at the moment, it's a 5. Like, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
but it needs a lot more.
It's interesting they're going for that market, right? I suppose that's
it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the exciting bit. And if anyone can build something that will, you know, over time go that you'd back into it to do it, right? Like they've got the resources, they've got the suite, they've got all of those bits. So it's exciting times. Amy?
I mean, I think it's kind of in the middle. I'm a bit indifferent because we don't know everything that's going to be released there. So yeah, great, they're doing something for that market if it does everything. So until we've got more information, I'm a little bit, I'll sit on the fence for that one.
That's a 5 then.
That's a 5. We'll go with the 5. I mean, I was going to withhold, but yeah, I'll go with you.
And then the template update, I'll start. It's an absolute 2, maybe a 3 for me. Yeah, just frustrated. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I get frustrated when an update comes along that we've been waiting for. It just doesn't hit the marks. It just frustrates me. Simon, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's down the bottom of the 2 or 3. You know, it is what it is, really, isn't it?
And Amy?
I think up until the point of that last bit that you just did, I was like, maybe a few points. I mean, it's not significant enough of a difference. So yeah, way down the bottom. At a 2. I'll have a 2.
Yeah.
I think
there we are.
That's the theme of today. There's not enough of a difference across all of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
I mean, it's
summer,
always
extended
quieter
summer
around here.
holidays.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the actual page of updates that QuickBooks do, so the in the know
There's nothing on
page,
it.
there's nothing on it. Yeah. I mean, the September update was literally 2 items long. I think it was. It was QuickBooks Online improvement for September. It was earn revenue share on your client's QuickBooks payment transactions, which was controversial. We spoke about already. And then there's also you can now edit bookmarks in your left-hand navigation. So yeah, they were you want.
I like
So,
Can we move them?
Yeah.
funny
So I was
enough,
looking at that roadmap one as well, and it says autumn coming soon, and then there's just says QuickBooks Advanced. What are you doing in QuickBooks Advanced?
well, they did state that there's 7 new latest features, all of which are already there.
Yeah,
so role-based workflow approvals, efficiency management with fixed asset accountant. There is talk about a new fixed asset element coming out, so maybe that's what they're talking about. Revenue recognition, which we spoke about, has moved. So it's always quieter around now, right? Be interesting.
Everyone's been on holiday. They've not worked on anything. I mean, I was in the office. I went to their office during August. I think I was one of 8 people in it. It was dead.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Everyone, it's like I said, it's that time of the year where everyone's away. So,
yeah, 100%. So we're going to save our topic of the week for topic of the month for next month. We just a little sneak preview. We're going to talk about what we need for MTD for us to be able to deliver that. What we need as accountants to make that sure that's working. But before we go, Amy, we went with Intuit to a special on location conference, didn't we? How did you find it at the you explain where we went and go through from there.
We were invited. We went with Intuit to the Labour Party conference on Monday and Tuesday to speak to a few MPs, and we did actually get in front of the powers that be, the Chancellor, Secretary of State, Small Business Minister, and we put our point across about MTD, which we will revisit next month, and what needs to be done to help small businesses. Basically, on the ground, you had the big business there, but not many representatives and small businesses talking. So Intuit arranged to have us in front of them and put all your views across to them. And we hope they listen. I mean, they've been in power,
81 days, was it?
Yeah, which they did keep reminding us of. We're like, okay, but a lot of these things have been around. I think late payments was a big push that they were going for, so we expressed concern about that. It was good to get in front of them, in front of the ministers, the powers that be. Let's hope that they took it in. Yes, and this was from Intuit, the Intuit stand.
That's a big number, 30 billion. What was that number?
Open finance will be transformed for the UK SMBs and an economy, potentially boosting the GDP by 30 billion a year if we have open finance.
It's an interesting number they got to.
Yeah. 59% in the last year of accountants have used AI to reduce errors. Making Tax Digital will generate £3.8 billion per year for the economy. Ooh. I'm not saying if this is right or wrong.
It's some big numbers.
81% of late payments are becoming more prevalent, thanks to the new initiatives. And 400k of UK small businesses have adopted at least one AI technology, helping level the playing field. 400,000 UK businesses, and there's plenty more, but we won't go through all of them.
Those 400k have also been using predictive text for the last 20 years. So.
And this thing called Google as well. Don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Might catch on.
I've got my skeptical hat on the top of that.
But overall, Amy, what did you think of the event? Because we were both kind of a little bit unsure what to expect for it, right?
Yeah, we were. I didn't think we were going to get in front of the people that we got in front of. I wasn't really as prepared as I probably should have, knowing that we were going to be talking to the Chancellor, so the powers. But I think they wanted to listen. They asked, particularly MPs that came to the Intuit stand. They wanted to listen. They wanted to hear from us what we thought should happen to help small businesses. And I think a few of them were surprised by what we said. So
yes. Yeah. Very controversial, some of them, weren't they? So we'll see.
Yeah.
What happens. Yeah. I think what is nice about those sort of events is that not only do they get the chance to speak to the, likes of us, the Accounting Council, who on the front line and everything else, but what I think is really impactful is that pretty much everything we've said, we can always go back and say, oh, and here's the data to prove it, because Intuit has like the best like data banks, any of the, accounting platforms out there, FMS solutions, should I say. They have such a important stack of data that probably goes underutilized for what it's really there for, and everything else. And I think that's something that definitely was something that I think just added that impact, that we could go, have you considered doing X and Y? And we could even give you a breakdown of what that could look like. It was not just us theorizing and saying things off the cuff. It was having the opportunity to say that there is a chance we could just look at the data and see actually what that impact could be. And I think that's the important bit, right?
Yeah. Intuit said themselves, they have the data, they do provide the data, and whether it's being used for the right purpose remains to be seen. But we pushed the cause, and I hope it didn't fall on deaf ears. They seemed interested. So we've all got to wait until budget, 30th of October. That's what they kept saying. We're not going to give too much out of the bag before then. So,
which is either a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll see when we will see what comes up with it. But that's another reason why MTD will be so powerful, right? Because that's that should add X amount to that data element to it. And if you're really looking at the micro small businesses, then hopefully that data can do some good, because hopefully you can see what's going on with that. Cool. Simon, were you jealous that you didn't get to come along to Liverpool? You don't like going north, do you? If it was south.
It's north of Watford. No. I go north just not to go to the Labour Party conference.
You could have cycled up. You could have been net
proving
neutral
my green credentials.
Yeah. Exactly. Brilliant. And you'd have done better, actually, because if you'd have cycled up with your fancy tent and everything that you've got, you'd probably save an absolute fortune, because as you can imagine, having a conference in the middle of Liverpool with I was, how far out was I was like half an hour out, and
Manchester.
Pretty much. Closer to Manchester and Liverpool. So, but no, it was a great experience. Really enjoyed it, and go from there. Awesome. I think that's it for this month. Have we missed anything? Is anything else anyone wanted to talk about?
Do we want to quickly drop in templates that we think we haven't talked about?
Oh, very good point. Yes. Do you want to quickly talk about it, and I'll bring it up on screen? Yeah,
go for it. So when was it? February. We might have missed it in February's edition or March's edition. Or we did do it and it's here. But for QuickBooks accountants, there is now the ability to have chart of account templates. So when you're setting up those files, you can set some default templates up on the right-hand side. Down. No.
Oh, I went to the wrong one.
Right side one. That's the one. So yeah, you can just create templates. So it might be that you have a standard one for. We're just using that template from scratch one. But have your income expenditure, or set it up just for your tax return fields and all that sort of thing. Then just apply that to your licenses. Great. I think we might have missed it, so I just thought I'd just drop that in as a little nugget at the end.
Yeah, it's brilliant, especially for us where we connect to our accounts production software directly in QuickBooks. So my main file, my main Bofix file, we have them kind of set based on what our chart of accounts for our accounts production is going to be. And that just saves so much time, right? Because then you can automate some of those connection, those mappings. They can all be automated.
It's just small things like some of the expense codes that you want to have aren't included in a QuickBooks chart of accounts anymore.
Exactly.
Accountancy, I don't think is.
I was going to say accountancy.
It just disappeared. but for some reason it's no longer included in your standard chart of accounts.
I mean, if it was zero, I'd have the joke that they're trying to replace accountants anyway. But
it's just yeah. But yeah, so it's just nice to have that, and then just go right. Cool. We've not messed around with what happens if you want to apply that template to a pre-existing client yet.
So what happens is it'll only bring in the new ones if you've already got.
If you want to merge them, and you got to do that inside the product.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing they brought up pretty quickly, so this is where the feedback tool went nice, was the feedback, it launched it, and then they brought the import tool in really, really quickly, which was nice to see. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of the most important thing, right? You want to find a client that's nice and clean and tidy, your perfect client, if you like, as a base, export it from there, go into Excel, clean it all up, making sure it's ready for it. That's what you want to import in. And it starts from scratch and it's from there. So yeah. We like that. That was a very good import. What was that, Simon? Sorry, I talked
very good for industry-specific chart of accounts as well.
Yeah.
I know you select your industry when you do your setup, but it doesn't really do much.
No. And I'm thinking back on earlier days when I was at, more and small in top 50 firm, all that sort of stuff. We used to do a lot of stat packs for our clients. So you'd export it from the FMS solution and go from there. This way you could have all those set nicely so that when you export it all, you can put it straight in your stat packs that can bring them all through for you. Like you said, for those industry ones, it's going to streamline all those for you, isn't it? So I love it.
Things like Fathom to do benchmarking and stuff like that. Everything's got exactly the same chart accounts. Makes your life a hell of a lot easier.
Like we say, multi-entity ones, if you could kind of match them up and make them nicer.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what it's about, isn't it? And you can do sub accounts and all sorts in that template as well. So, you can really go to town, get it up and running, and get it nice and clean. So we love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Brilliant. I think that's it. I think that's everything for this month's episode. As always, thank you all for joining us and talking to us and being in the comment section. So it's great to have those comments. Great to have that question as well. So yeah, keep them coming. Let's go around the room then. How people going to find you, Simon, if they want to reach out to you on anything in the world of QuickBooks?
They can find me on LinkedIn. Just search my name on LinkedIn and you will find me. That is my only social. There you go.
Makes it easy. And Amy, how people find you? And haven't you got announcement of a new project?
Yes, so I'm working with the ACCA. I've done a video series about I'd already done a podcast about how I started my practice, and now it's about processes and how I do what I do. So that's with the ACCA, and that's been released today on YouTube. So you can see me again in video format rather than podcast, but everyone can reach me on LinkedIn. I do have an Instagram and Facebook as well, under Amy Hancock.
Loving it. Please all, if you get a chance, join us for our 100th episode of Ask the Accountant on Monday, on International Podcast Day of all days. So yeah, we're really great to see you all there. We've got some big announcements to make. We've got a big announcement for this one as well. I haven't even told. I may have told you, Amy, actually, but yeah, I haven't told you yet, Simon. So we will announce on the main show first, and then we will drip down for the rest of the network. But it should mean that you guys listening are going to get more out of it, which is what we all like to see. I did miss one comment. Paul says they need to show more details like direct debit links with their Go Cardless on the list view. So many times I've set up a recurring invoice before the mandate signed, then forgot to update the template to collect by direct debit. Exactly. It's we pride ourselves of trying to make all these nice systems and processes and everything else. And especially if you want to get into a bit of business advisory for clients, you pride yourself in kind of having those nice clean setups ready that you can kind of pass on to clients. But with the tools we've got, it's not a clean setup at the moment. So on that bombshell, we will leave it for today. Thanks everyone for joining in. Remember, we're on the podcast services of your choice. We go live. Just keep an eye on the old socials. I think Lizzie set up a QuickBooks Labs social links now. So yeah, keep an eye on that. That's when you'll know when we go live. Technically, we're half an hour late.
We don't know if we're going live. So yeah.
we Simon turned up on Tuesday for an episode, so we're always here to tell you.
I'm just eager to talk about things.
Enterprise, yeah, QuickBooks. Brilliant. Hopefully next time we talk as well, we'll know more about the QuickBooks Accounting Council as well.
I might know more about enterprise as well. So
amazing, brilliant. Well, we look forward to it. I'll go from there. So cheers, everybody. We will see you all next month. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.